Okay. How you doing, Franklin? How you doing?
Great. Thank you so much, man. What was your name again? I'm so sorry.
I'm Albert.
Albert. Very nice to meet you, Albert. Thank you so much.
Well, I gotta tell you, man, I saw the Artifice Girl yesterday. It was not what I expected, but I mean that in the best way possible because let's just face it, when it comes to AI films and the AI going a little bit haywire, it always ends up like a horror movie, but this was not even close to that. And I'm glad because I always wanted to see something completely different, and you did a great job on this one.
I appreciate that. I think it's really fun, sort of playing with people's expectations and hearing now. I love one of my favorite things that I've heard from people when people talk about the film is that they assume it's going to end in some sort of gory, violent, climax. And so I think that's actually great because it always sort of keeps them on edge. And like, there's this certain level of suspense that's maintained when you have that expectation. And then it actually feels like a huge relief when the credits roll and you realize that it sort of went a different way. Probably shouldn't have said that because now people are.
Well, that's okay. That's okay because like I said, when I saw it, I was like you said, when the credits rolled, I'm like, that was not what I expected. But thank God because I didn't want it to end the same old shtick. I wanted it. I was hoping for something totally different. And like I said, this is why I enjoyed the movie.
Thank you so much.
So my first question is, where did the idea for the film come from? What was your influence behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had read over the years several articles about how AI and technology was being used to combat online predators and traffickers and criminals in general. And I just thought that was just so cool. That was such a great idea, and what a great way to use technology for such a good cause. And I thought, what kinds of interesting conversations and discussions were happening behind closed doors with the developers. But the idea kind of sat dormant for a few weeks until I think one day there was just this epiphany of potentially drawing a thematic connection between the budding adolescence of AI and childhood trauma. And as soon as that line was like drawn in my head, it was just like, okay, this is a story I have to tell. And that's really what kicked all of this off.
And I gotta tell you, man, not only were you great in terms of the writing and the direction, but your opening scene where you're in the office with Dina and Amos, you pulled it. I mean, holy crap, you were so intense in that one scene that kicked it off. And I was like, holy cow, like great job, like in front of the camera as well. Like that was insane.
Well, thank you. I think those first 15 minutes are crucial to getting people engaged. And there's a lot of exposition to sort of go over with this sort of story. But I know that, we shot this in COVID times, and we shot a large portion of the beginning as a proof of concept. So we had very little resources, practically no money. So the idea was, how do we make this interesting? How do we make three people talking in a room captivating and intriguing? And so I think the structure and pacing of those first 15 minutes, like you said, the interrogation was crucial. I had watched a lot of videos of real interrogation videos, and the cross-examinations, there's like a rhythm to the way that they ask their questions and give small bits of information. And I always think it's really interesting to watch those videos without any context as to what the crime is, because then you're like a fly on the wall detective trying to piece it together. So I think that, and just sort of the way that I structured those first like 30 minutes, with every minute or so you get another secret and then a mystery set up, then you get another secret and then another mystery. Like every minute there's like a new kind of thing. I think that's what helps. I hope sort of make that first introductory scene really compelling and thrilling.
You're right. And I gotta tell you, it was definitely the good cop, bad cop, because Sinda Nichols is Dina, total bad cop, but she was a total badass in that scene.
Incredible.
And I just love the way she just goes off, and then David Girard's the one who's trying to like keep everything calm and collected in that one scene. And then absolutely. I mean that's like I said, that scene was intense, but the breakout for me was Tatum Matthews. She was fantastic as Cherry. How did you discover her for the role?
I had actually met her several years ago, back in 2018, I believe. She had auditioned for a play that I was directing at a local community theater. And it was a relatively small role, but she came in and delivered this monologue that made everybody in the audition room cry. And it was like, okay, I felt like Spielberg with E.T. It was like, all right, you got the part, but I just knew that in the future, like we'll have to continue working with her. And she did. We've worked together on several short films and other theater projects. And so when the story came about, it was like, all right, well, it's a no-brainer. Like it's going to be Tatum. And our expectations were relatively high for her because it's such a profoundly challenging role for a child to play, but she far exceeded what our expectations of her performance were going to be. I mean, the fact that not only does she have to contend with all of the technical jargon and all of that expository, sci-fi vocabulary, there's also, she has to like walk this this tightrope of character between being too uncanny valley and still having like a sort of humanity, and then some of the swerves that her character takes and some of the twists and turns are just incredible. Still, when I watch the film, that's I don't get bored with those moments because she is just so incredible, and when she performs them.
Yeah, in some crazy way. I mean, I felt like this was a coming of age film in a way as well, because this is the first time we've ever seen an AI come of age. Like when she starts to develop her human feelings. I mean, it's just that's something you don't see in these type of movies, especially with AI. And the fact that she's starting to feel these things, and it's kind of inexplicable with the coding and everything. It makes you wonder, how did this happen? And I'm still like baffled by it in some way, but at the same time, I felt like this was not only a sci-fi film, it was a coming of age film in terms of her character.
I love when people describe it as that, because it's definitely like, there's obviously a lot of sci-fi elements in it, but you're right. Like, and a lot of people have said this, it feels like, it doesn't feel like a sci-fi film entirely. It feels like something more. And I love calling it a coming of age story, because you're absolutely right. Like it is sort of more akin to Boyhood in that way, getting to see like this character grow over the course of a long period of time. And yeah, I think that's part of what makes, to me at least, that's what I found really interesting about the story, and what like kind of kept me engaged with bringing this thing to life, was the humanity behind the character of Cherry as she develops, not just as a program, but as maybe something more.
So in a way, it's like Boyhood, because your character, we get to see your character and Dina and Amos, they're also getting older. And then the third act, we see your character now played by an icon in Lance Henriksen. What was it like working with him on the set?
I mean, exactly what you would expect. He was always at the top of our list, because for obvious reasons. Not only is he just a legendary actor and a phenomenal artist in his own right, obviously the meta connection to his previous work and his previous characters was, it just was kind of a no-brainer for us. But actually, like, getting him in the film was still like kind of a pipe dream. But when he read the script and he committed to it, I mean, that's the amazing thing about Lance, is that like all of the things that about Lance are all true, right? Like as far as just how talented he is, how legendary he is. But he could have just shown up on set and read the lines and gone home, but he did not. He cared so much about this project. He cared so much about the character. We spent hours and hours over the phone, in person, on Zoom, talking about the character, talking about the story and the themes and the ideas, how he connected them to his own personal experiences. I mean, he was so passionate about the story, and his chemistry with Tatum was just phenomenal.
It felt magnetic. Like that's what helped as well. It was so natural, and and that's what made the film work. And I got to tell you, I saw him almost 2 years ago at a Q&A, and he's so engaging, talking about all these stories about his career and everything. It's like you just want to know the guy and you get to know more about him. And I felt like you're knowing more about Gareth throughout the whole film. You get, it's not just about Cherry in terms of her coming of age, but we get to know more about your character as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and again, like, Lance has such a gravitas. I'm honored and humbled that the character that I play ends up getting played by him. I felt like it was I accidentally kind of cast some very big shoes that I then had to retroactively fill. But he, he's incredible. And yeah, I think the kind of sincerity that he brings to Gareth in his sort of final days are like the perfect kind of ending to his character, but also I think really solidify this idea that Gareth has not been the protagonist this whole time. He has, I think, a certain degree of protagonist syndrome. I think he thinks he's the main character of his own story, but but really he's been the antagonist. Really, he's been the cause of a lot of the problems and conflicts in the story. And he finally, at the end of his life, has to reconcile that. He has to confront it. And he, even though he's reluctant to, he does. So I think it was a fantastic role, and I'm so honored to have worked with Lance and now kind of sort of be a part of his story too. So it's truly dream come true, you know.
That's awesome. So how long did shooting take? And besides the COVID thing, what other complications did you face on set, if any?
Yeah, so we had a very strict and interesting, unique sort of shooting schedule, because we shot the first act in 5 days in 2020, in the fall of 2020. We shot Act 2 in 5 days in the spring of 2020, and then Act 3 we shot in 5 days in the spring of 2021. So Act 1 2020, Act 2 2021, Act 3 fall of 2021. So there was like 6 months difference between those acts. So we definitely had some time to like let it breathe and sort of reassess. But yeah, those were 5-day shoots. They were very tight. They were very intense, but we had done a lot of pre-production planning to make sure that we knew exactly what we were going in to shoot. We were very specific and precise with coverage, which helped out a lot in, I think, the pacing and structure, and ultimately in the editing room. And yeah, as far as challenges, I mean, the challenge was kind of inherent. We knew that this was going to be a challenge to make a film that was engaging, that takes place in one room with 3 actors. But again, I think as any independent filmmaker will tell you, the best thing you could do as an indie filmmaker is to approach these challenges as opportunities for creativity, opportunities for ingenuity. And I think that was sort of our approach to this whole project. And for that, I mean, it made things so fun and exciting and kinetic. And I think that might show in the film.
That's awesome. Well, I'm telling you right now, I think people need to check this one out. So the Artifice Girl will be out on April 27th. And I got to say, if you like AI films but want to see something completely different, I definitely would recommend this film, because it feels like it's not only about AI, it's a coming of age film in a way as well. And Franklin, thank you so much again for taking the time to talk about it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, everyone, take care and have a great day.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay. How you doing, Tatum?
Hi, I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. I gotta tell you, I was talking with Franklin, and then yesterday I talked with Sinda and David about the Artifice Girl, and I'm gonna say this right now. I think this was your breakout performance, and I think I mean, you did such a great job on this movie, and so surprisingly, because this was an AI film I was not expecting, but I mean that in a good way.
Thank you. I'm glad you liked the film.
So my first question is, how did you meet Franklin? I know you guys worked together on the stage. He was telling me. How did that all come about?
Yeah, so I've known him since I was about 9, through theater originally. And then he knew I do a little bit of film. So I was taking classes, I think starting around the age of 8. And so he knew that I was familiar with it for sure. And so he was like, I know it might be a little bit of a challenging role, but I think that you're a great fit for this role that I've written. And then I read the script and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And Cherry's role is something just really different than I've ever done before, but I was really excited to see what that would bring. And I was definitely open to it. And I had a lot of trust with him that he was just gonna do everything that would be the best turnout for the film.
That's awesome. And I got to tell you, I mean, your interactions, even though you're in this one isolated room, the interactions between you and Franklin and then you and Sinda and David for the first 2 acts, it was so natural. It was like the chemistry was there. And it's just so surprising, because here you are playing this AI girl in this one little room. And, you know, we already know the agenda is, you know, you're stopping child predators. And that's a great thing. I mean, I feel like, you know, nowadays, you know, AI is going to eventually do that down that road. It's going to be all about that. What was that like for you, that experience, just to be in that one room and then having that all come together?
It was definitely different. And I didn't really know how it would turn out, but Franklin is such a genius, and I knew that it was just gonna work out perfectly. And I love every single one of them that I was working with, Sinda, David, and Franklin. I think they were also incredible, and we all had just a chemistry that it didn't even matter if I wasn't in the room with them. Like, I knew by their voices, their emotions, and what would be on their faces, and so I kind of just imagined that, and I pictured it, and I think it turned out pretty real. It kind of felt like we were all together, even though we weren't. But it was definitely different for me to get used to, but I think it ended up great.
Yeah, definitely. And what I really like the fact was why I feel like this is an AI film that I was not expecting. Most of these type of films, I was expecting you to somehow go haywire and start somehow manipulating everything. But I like the fact that everything was different, that you started having real feelings, like you started to feel human. And that's something we don't ever see in these AI films. Then again, Megan did come out, but that was a little more sinister. But the fact that she felt more in some ways human as well. But this was a totally different path. I mean, I'll ask you, what do you think of, what do you think? Do you think that's a possibility that AI can eventually develop this type of feelings if with the right coding or anything?
Absolutely. I think they're already starting to. I mean, I think it's going to happen a lot faster than any of us anticipate. But I mean, they're already doing things like creating art. I've looked at the Lens app, and it's incredible that they can do stuff like that. And ChatGPT like can write essays. It's crazy. So I think if they're programmed to have that, then it'll be pretty soon that they can.
And one thing that really surprised me was the third act, because you finally come out into the open and you are sharing the screen with one of the greatest cinematic icons of all time, in Lance Henriksen. I mean, I saw this guy at a Q&A a couple of years ago, and he's just so warm-hearted and telling all these great stories. And since you shared the screen with him, what was that like working with him?
He's definitely full of stories, but I enjoyed every second of working with him and all of those stories. He has a lot of wisdom to him, and he was more than willing to share that with me. So I felt so honored to like have conversations with him. Like, it was just honestly so surreal and crazy that I was able to do that. But he was amazing, and he's obviously such a talented actor, and was amazing to play off of. Like, I feel like helped my performance by how amazing he was. So I was really, really excited and grateful to have that experience.
That's awesome. And yeah, what I really liked was the fact that, I don't know, it looked like some of that stuff could have been ad-libbed in a way, because it's the way you guys played off each other so naturally. Well, did that happen at all, or did you stick to the strip?
I think we maybe a few times, not even me. I think because Cherry is so precise to her words, but he was great about ad-libbing, and it felt so natural, and we had just such a natural chemistry right off the bat, which is great. And I always love, because I feel like that definitely helps the performance in the end.
That's great. And yeah, Franklin, Sin, and David all agree. Like, you brought this maturity to the role, and even when you were on stage with Franklin, he was praising like this is going to be someone who's going to be a star, because she's got that intuition for her, like, such a young age. She's like knows what to do, and bam, pulls it off. And I'm like, well, this is going to be. I felt like this is definitely your breakout performance, and I was like, if she keeps going this route, I see her making more films and becoming a star in the future, hands down.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. I really hope so. And I really hope that things come out of this film for everyone, because I feel like everyone's performance in this is absolutely incredible, and they deserve so much in their future. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm really just hoping that happens for everyone on set.
That's awesome. So with that said, do you have any more films down the road that's coming up, or are you doing it like theater? What's next for you?
Right now, just a lot of auditioning. The industry's a little bit slow right now, but a lot of auditioning, and this is keeping me pretty busy. We're going to a lot of festivals, and I'm doing a lot of interviews, which I love doing. So I'm just having a lot of fun right now, and we'll see. I really hope when people see this that they are inspired by something, and hopefully will want me to be a part of one of their projects.
That's awesome. Well, I hope so, and I hope people will get to see this interview and see like and see the film, because I feel like, you know, this, you're a star in the making, and the film will be out this coming weekend. And guys, I mean, this, if you like AI films but want to see something fresh and new, this is the movie to see. I mean, everyone's excellent in it, and Tatum here gave a breakout performance. And like I said, you guys need to notice her. I think she's gonna get up there high and start a major career. And Tatum, thank you so much again for taking the time to talk about the movie.
Thank you for having me, really.
All right, we take care and have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Right, bye.
All righty.
Wow.
Okay.
It's so
Cool.
cool.
Oh, I saw the background.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
my
Okay.
Nice. I should have been there.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty excited to be talking with you guys about the Artifice Girl. I enjoyed the film. I talked to Franklin last week and told him how much I liked it, that it was such a different movie compared to most AI films that we're used to of this element.
Mhm.
And you two pulled off really excellent performances in the film as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
So my first question for both of you is, how did you get involved with the project?
Sinda, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Well, lucky me, I met Franklin over 10 years ago doing theater together in Jacksonville, a amazing play called 33 Variations. And then we went on to do another amazing play called Stupid Fucking Bird, where I was his psychotic mother, and also became friends during that time. And I'd always had my fingers crossed that I would get to be in something that he wrote or was going to direct. And so he asked me to read the script back in 2020 after he wrote it. And I was just so honored and blown away by it and said yes right away. I don't even think I finished it. I think I, like read Act 1 and said, I'll do it.
Yeah, Franklin and I had worked on projects before,
Mhm.
film projects. And one day he calls me, he's like, hey, I got a script I need you to read. And I was like, okay. Because I believe Franklin is visionary. I believe he's brilliant. So whenever he calls and asks me to do anything, I'm hopping right on it. And this was no different. So I got finished reading it and I was like, sure, let's do it.
That's awesome. And I gotta tell you, I could tell that the chemistry between you guys was natural, especially you, Sinda, because I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna lie, you scared the crap out of me at times. I mean, just the way you just go off on Franklin in the opening scene, the interrogation scene, I was like, that was just mind-blowingly scary. You were just like, we're no holds barred against him. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah.
that's what I feel like made it work. And that one scene alone, just like the startup for it.
It's, when you get to work with somebody who you've already kind of gotten down and dirty with. I mean, the theater we did, I had to really be horrible to him. And he was always so like, there was just a really interesting connection with him as an actor on stage. Like he'd be 100% in. And then when it was over, he would just like, the more I gave him, the more he loved it. So going into the Artifice Girl, I felt a real sense of calm of like, okay, I can go as far as I need to go with this, and Franklin's going to be okay. But there was a little part of me that felt uncomfortable, like abusive.
I can
Yeah.
imagine, because
Yeah.
you were like that towards him, but
Yeah.
it's like, I thought at one point you were gonna grab him and like really like tell him what is this? What are you doing? What is that?
Yeah.
You know?
Like, oh, it almost felt, it would have been weird if I'd had to hit him, because I don't know if I could have, but whatever.
Yeah, it still worked though. I think the verbal part actually just was impactful.
Yeah, she was scary. I think we were all scared. But I had to pretend like I wasn't because I've worked with her, Amos has worked with Dina for a while now. So I've seen her this way, but deep into David was scared. Amos wasn't scared, but David was scared.
Yeah, and what I found intriguing, and I was telling Franklin, the one thing I really loved was that the film takes place over like years. It's not like, just one like a month or something. This takes place over the set of a few like many years, which I found really intriguing because we get to see you guys age as well, and it just brings more of a connection between the three of you as you're trying to talk to the Artifice Girl herself here. And I liked the little twists and turns mixed in, and I saying like this is not like your typical AI film where something goes haywire and she might start like somehow manipulating you guys or mind controlling you guys. But
Yeah.
and that's what I really liked about the film.
Yeah, I think that's I'm glad the direction Franklin took, because he didn't make AI the boogeyman. It wasn't like Terminator or films that do that. I'm glad he took a very refreshing look to the genre and to AI.
Yeah. And when you look at things over time, you kind of ask the audience to sort of like slow down and breathe and let something age.
Exactly. And, and as we get to see you age, we see the changes in both of your characters as well. Like you go from being, Sinda goes from being like the abusive type to more calm, and then David's character goes from being the calm one to something got a little something we're not so quite sure about. I think he's got a little sinister agenda on his mind, but what that we don't reveal that till years later.
Yeah.
And I think I like that, like that everything goes 180 in the second act. Like everything starts to get revealed very slowly.
I love that you picked that up.
So do I. I think you're the first person we've talked to.
Yeah.
That is actually, some people have remarked on the aging process and what we had to do to age, but I think you're the first one to actually point out the 180 that does happen in the film.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. And then finally, the third act, we got an icon in Lance Henriksen now playing Franklin's character.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was mind blowing to me that he actually appeared in this movie. But, did you guys get to be on the set when they shot the scenes with Lance, or you just were like, oh, we're done?
Yeah, no. It was COVID. And so they were trying to keep the amount of people on set as small as possible. And so I wasn't on set. But I was blown away. Like, I remember Franklin calling me the day we got Lance. He was like, we got Lance. And I was like, are you serious? Like, I'm like, you need to write another scene where I'm in it. So I can be seen with Lance. But he didn't. So, but no, he was I've seen the film like 3 or 4 times now, and what he brings to it, you can't put a price on it. And I'm so happy that he decided to do it.
What do you think about Lance, Sinda, on your end?
Oh, we got to Zoom with him, and it was very special. And Franklin shared with us what he said about, he watched Act 1 and Act 2. He had the script and he watched a cut of Act 1 and a cut of Act 2. And he was so complimentary about our performances, and he talked about them with Franklin, and then Franklin passed that on to us. And it just felt like such a rich and amazing experience as an actor to have somebody of his stature, looking at your performance and talking about it and how he wants to be part of it. And
yeah,
it's beautiful, just beautiful.
Yeah, I think he's the type of actor, he sees a script and really likes it. He goes for it. I remember a couple of years ago, I went to a horror convention and he did a Q&A there, and he talked about how he got the role for Pumpkinhead. He's like, they sent me this script and all I just saw in big bright orange letters was Pumpkinhead. And I'm like, so what's this movie? So I looked at the script because he was friends with Stan Winston, and once he read the script, he's like, I'm definitely doing this movie. And it's like one of the horror movies he's known for today. He's such like an amazing guy, but on and off screen. So that's to get that complimentary from him must have been an honor.
Okay. Oh yeah. You go into this business and you never know how it's actually going to turn out. What type of roles you're going to get and who you get a chance to work with. And never in a million years could if you had told me that I was going to be in a movie with Lance Henriksen, I would have believed you. I would have been like, nah, no. So to have the honor, I'm truly honored to be in this film with him.
Now, I am going to say this. I think the breakout star of this movie is definitely Tatum Matthews as the Artifice Girl herself. She
Yes.
pulled off such an amazing performance. I was telling Franklin, she keeps going this route. She's going to be a major star, hands down, because this was like her breakout performance here. I mean, and then she also comes from that theater background. She's done stuff with Franklin before. What was it like working with Tatum? Like, even though she's doing all her scenes in this one, but that there's still that chemistry between you guys. What was it like working with Tatum?
Well, I worked with Tatum before. With Franklin directing, and even then she was only 8 or 9 then. But you could just tell that there was this level of maturity to her. But then when you watch her perform, she's brilliant. She is so good, and she takes notes very well. And her and Franklin like developed this character pretty much together, as far as, the nuances. And, but she had done like tons of research on her own, which was just amazing. So it's always a pleasure to work with Tatum. She's adorable, but she's a powerhouse. She's a talent powerhouse.
Total talent powerhouse, and a really relaxed and good energy human being. And when we were doing our Zoom rehearsals, it was very enjoyable, very collaborative, very, she would bring things to the table and we would bring things to the table. It just felt like we were equals. It didn't feel like there was this difference in ages.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there was, but it's been a positive experience. And it's also been, I've learned so much from watching her, because she has a real like natural style that you feel like she's not acting, but then she is, because when you see her in between takes, she's a very different person.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that, because she's gonna be my next interview tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So
Oh, you love her. Oh,
yeah, I'm gonna be looking
like,
forward to talking to her tomorrow about the movie as well. And what was it like working with you guys from her viewpoint? And it's gonna be very exciting to see that. And overall, I mean, like I said, I love seeing fresh takes on genres that people are used to, and this is definitely one of them. So finally, with that said, what's next for you guys that you can talk about?
I'm doing a one-woman show, and then I'm also working on a web series via Zoom. We're writing it right now and recording it, and so it's all very exciting. Yeah.
Yes, I have 3 film projects that I'm working on, but it's very preliminary. Two of them don't even have titles yet, so I'm not sure timeline when they'll be finished, but hopefully by the time they're finished, Franklin will have written another script and we can do that.
Maybe possibly a somewhat sequel to this one. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, we want the Amos and Dina show, so you can see what happens in those 15 years. That it jumps the first.
Yeah, there you go.
That would be awesome.
That'll work. So the Artifice Girl will be out this Friday, and those who love AI films but want to see something very different are going to want to enjoy this one. And Sinda and David, thank you so much again for taking the time to talk about the film.
Oh, thank you for having us. Thank you.
All right. Well, you guys take care and have a great day.
All right. You do the same.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.